Welcome to all those that are here. The topics for tonight are Shalom Bayis, Simcha, and Shovavim. We're going to try to speak about all three, and there are definite important connections between these topics. I'd like to start with a Gemara. Many people learn Gemara, and I also learned Gemara before I met Rav Rosenfeld's Gemara, before I met Breslov. And there was a big difference between the before and after learning Gemara. Sometimes I compare it to a person looking through a lens of a camera, and they're looking and the lens is not focused. And they look over there and somebody says, "Do you see the picture on the wall?" I said, "What picture? There's no picture." He says, "Yes, there is. Look, don't you?" "No, I don't see." "Give me the camera." They take the camera and they turn the lens a little bit and they say, "Now look through it." "Oh, wow, I see now. I see all the detail and everything." Because the person didn't have that clear focus. A tzaddik, one of the things that a tzaddik does for a person is he opens the person's eyes and he opens the Torah for the person, to give the person a level of being able to see things in the Torah that they didn't see before on their own. And the person says, how come I didn't see this? And the answer is because you don't have the same set of eyes. There's a pasuk, Einei Hashem el tzadikim, that tzadikim possess the eyes of Hashem. Hine ein Hashem el Yereov. It's mentioned in a number of places. So they have a different set of eyes completely as we do, and they're given the privilege to share their eyes with us. The Gemara uses the terminology Nasan boy einov v'nase gal shelatzamos. He gives his eyes to the person, and there becomes revealed, gal is gilui, those things that were hidden from the person before. That a person was learning Torah, and they were seeing 2% or 5%. And suddenly the person's eyes are open and they see it completely different. There's a Gemara in Tainus, page 22, where the Gemara says, one of the rabbis, we know the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah that each one of the rabbis in the Gemara had the ability to perform Tchias HaMesim, to bring a dead person back to life. So here the Gemara is one of the instances where the Gemara speaks about one of the rabbis meeting up with Eliyahu Hanavi. And the Gemara mentions that he was a regular. Eliyahu Hanavi was a regular visit by this tzaddik, Rabbi Broika Chuzah. And the Gemara says that Rabbi Broika would often go to a certain marketplace, and Eliyahu Hanavi would often visit with him. And at one point, the rabbi asked Eliyahu Hanavi, "Is there anyone in this marketplace that qualifies for Olam Haba, that's going to be going into Olam Haba?" And Eliyahu Hanavi looked around and said, "No." His first response was no. And then, as they were looking, Eliyahu Hanavi saw a certain person who was dressed not like a religious Jew. The Gemara makes a point. He was wearing shoes and socks that the religious people did not wear at the time. And in addition, they didn't see tzitzis. Tzitzis are something that says Ure'isamais, is supposed to see the tzitzis. There are people who wear the tzitzis out like this. There are people that wear tzitzis over the garment. They did not see tzitzis by this person. It doesn't say he wasn't wearing them. It says that it wasn't visible at all. So the rabbi, Eliyahu Hanavi, pointed to him and said, "He is a ben Olam Haba." So the rabbi called out to the person, and the person didn't respond. So the Gemara says the rabbi ran after him. He ran after him. And he said to him, "Tell me, what do you do? What do you do that's special?" And the person said to him, "I can't talk to you now. Leave me alone. I'll meet you back here tomorrow at the same time. I'll be able to speak to you." The Gemara says, sure enough, the next day the rabbi came back and he said to him, "Tell me, what's special about you?" And he said, "Special? Nothing. I'm a jail keeper. I'm responsible for the jails, and I'm careful to keep the men and the women apart, to see to it that they should not mingle in any unkosher, any improper type of way." And he said, "I place my bed. I spend nights there also, and I position my bed in such a way that it brings about a separation between the men and the women." so that they should not come to commit any sins. And he said, when I see a Jewish girl whom the non-Jews are eyeing her, they're putting an eye on her, that they want to abuse her, I risk my life. I am moiser nefesh to protect her, to stand between them. And he said there was once an incident where there was a young girl who was engaged, and for whatever reason, somehow she ended up in prison, and I saw the goyim eyeing her, and I took a bunch of berries that are red. They give the appearance, when they stain, they look like blood, and I threw it on her to give the appearance that she had her period, that she wasn't clean, in order to discourage them, to tell them that she's not available right now. So the rabbi asked him, why don't I see your tzitzis? And he said to him, and why do you dress? You're not dressing like a religious person. And he said, the reason is because I mingle with the non-Jews, and especially government officials, and whenever I don't want them to know that I'm a Jew. And whenever they come out with any decrees against the Jewish people, I'm there, I'm able to hear about it, and I inform the rabbis so that the rabbis can be mispalel and nullify the decree. This is in the Gemara. The Gemara says that this person would run to the Chachamim and inform them that there is a decree being issued. Do your thing. What is your thing? Be mispalel, pray to Hashem, and that it should be nullified. He asked him then, and why when I tried to talk to you yesterday, you couldn't talk to me? He said, come back the next day. He said, for this reason. There had been a decree issued against the Jewish people, and I understood that this is not a time to wait, that the first priority was to run to the Rabbonim, to inform them so that they could be mispalel and nullify the decree. This is one person. Now they're looking around the marketplace, Elianovi and this rabbi, and Elianovi sees two brothers. And he says, these two are also B'nai Olam Haba. So the rabbi goes after them, and he says to them, tell me, what's special about you? What do you do that's very important? They said, important. We are badchanim. We're jokers. We know how to make people laugh. And they said, anan mavdechinon atzivi. When there are people who are depressed, atzvus, we make them laugh. We joke them up. We are happy people, and we're able to be contagious. We're able to spread it. We're able to take people who are depressed and get them out of the depression, make them smile. And they said that's one outstanding thing about us. And number two, when we see two people that are in a fight, in an argument, they're angry at each other, we put in whatever effort is necessary. We will matriach ourselves, and we see to it to make peace between them. And that's the end of the Gemara. This Gemara, this type of scenario appears in Shas. I don't know if it appears again in Shas, where a rabbi asks Elianovi, tell me who is Ben Olam Haba? These are the two examples that are given. One, the first one, a person who is very careful about seeing to it that there should be a separation between men and women. We know that the Torah speaks about achdus, unity, ahavas Yisrael, and that doesn't contradict the incredible importance of men and women knowing their places. And their places are generally not together. Not in a manner that there's any mingling in an unkosher way. We know the Gemara makes a statement, kosher hirhure aveira me aveira, that in certain ways, if the man is engaging another woman that's not his own wife, and he's just looking at her or even thinking about her, the Gemara says that can do more damage, more harm than physical relations between them. That just thought alone, when it comes to these issues, is extremely significant. We know that the neshama, we say when we put on tefillin in the morning, shahaneshama shebamoichi, the neshama, which is my brain, which is in my brain. So thoughts are very powerful. And to the degree that a person can protect themselves, shield themselves from seeing things that will cause thoughts to travel through the brain, that here we're told that this was Ben Olam Haba. Ben Olam Haba was a person who understood the importance of the separation between men and women. Now we know, even in the religious world, this is an important issue. We know that there are shuls where there's a whole battle as to how high the mechitza should be or shouldn't be, and there are people who fight for 1 inch lower or 1 inch higher. We see that it's not stam. There's an importance to this. There's an incredible importance to this at all times, especially when we talk about a shul. The Gemara speaks about a funeral. The Gemara says a funeral is a time of tremendous din, tremendous danger, and that's another important occasion for men and women to make sure to keep a certain safe, healthy distance. That was the first example. And the second example was a combination of two things, Simcha and Shalom. We know there's a pasuk that defines the Geula, the final redemption. The pasuk says, Ki besimcha seitzeyun uveshalom tuvalun. That these two things are among the most important things in life and in Yiddishkeit. Simcha and Shalom. And these are the things, this is the message that Elianavi is called Amitai, Isho Emes. This is the advice. The Torah, the Zohar HaKadosh refers to the 613 mitzvahs as 613 pieces of advice, eitzos. The Chumash, the Gemara is wall-to-wall eitzos, advice. The stories of the Gemara are full of advice guiding us what's important, what's most important. Here's a person who dressed a certain way. He was less machmir in the levush in order to be so significant in protecting Klal Yisrael. This gave him the ability to mingle among the goyim, to be informed when there's a gzeira, and to run to the chachamim to be mispalel. The Torah is giving clear advice. The Gemara says, if a person has a crisis in their home, someone is sick, and here we see it's not just sick. When there's any type of crisis, what does a Jew do? Yelech etzel chacham v'yivakei sholav rachmim. To run to the chachamim so that they should be mispalel. It doesn't mean they should be mispalel and we shouldn't. It doesn't exempt us. But we know that the combination, we know throughout the Torah, the Jews turned to Moshe Rabbeinu. The Jews turned to the tzaddikim, to the Talmidei Chachamim, and we ask them, we empower them to daven for us. But don't they know to do it on their own? That I have to ask? The answer is most definitely. If you don't ask, the pasuk says, Harchev picha va'amalehu. Hashem says, open your mouth wide and I'll fill it. Shuvu elai v'ashuv aleichem. There's an isarusa de lesata that's required. The way that Hashem operates, standard operation is, you make the first move, Hashem says, I'll respond. And here the first move, one of the most important first moves is going to tzaddikim. A person goes to living tzaddikim to solicit their help, or a person goes to kivrei tzaddikim. As in the case of Kolev ben Yefuna, he ran to kivrei tzaddikim, or the famous Gemara. The Gemara says, why is it, the Gemara says in Saita, why is it that we don't know today where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried? The Gemara says, if we would know where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried, we would go to his kever and we would say to him, the Gemara says, not to Hashem, we would say to Moshe Rabbeinu, get up and defend us and help us like you did throughout your lifetime. And the Gemara says Moshe Rabbeinu would get up and he would nullify the Gezerah, regardless of yes timing, no timing. And Hashem knows that the timing is critical, that we have to wait. So therefore the kever of Moshe Rabbeinu is hidden from us. Someone once made a joke, someone once approached one of the Breslover, not recently, I'm talking about 60, 70 years ago, when when there was no such thing as somebody who wasn't a Russian citizen coming into Russia to visit a kever of a tzaddik. So somebody once approached one of the Breslov who lived in Uman and said, if your Rebbe is such a big tzaddik, then how come we know where his kever is? How come his kever isn't hidden like Moshe Rabbeinu's? So this person looked at him and said, when was the last time you were by the kever? And he said, never. I was never there. He said, okay, you have your answer. That it's very hidden. It's still very hidden. It's still very hidden. And we know that even today, when there are thousands of people, we have a Lag Boimer, where over 500,000 people come to the kever of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. They come to Miron on his yard side on Lag Boimer. And with all the people going to Chevron to be mispal, to all the Mekomis HaKadoshim, the Torah says, V'anoichi hastir astir esponai bayoim hahu. Hashem says that as we get closer to the coming of Moshiach, there's going to be hastora shebetoich hastora. There's going to be, Hashem will be hidden and hidden. What does it mean, hastora shebetoich hastora? That the fact that Hashem is hidden, that's going to be hidden from us. We're going to think, what are you talking about hidden? We have hundreds of shuls. Every block, there are certain places you can go to today, in Monsey, in Yerushalayim. Every block has a shul. So where's the hastora? The answer is, the hastora is that with all the shuls, and with the kivrei tzadikim, there is still major hastora. We still don't really see. We don't really see, like they saw in the story in the Gemara, that Elianovi was able to open a person's eyes and point out, this one is going to Olam Haba. We don't see. Still, it's very hidden from us, but at least we're being invited a little to understand the incredible significance of Simcha, what it means to be happy, and what it means to be able to take people that aren't so happy and give them an injection to take them out of that unhappiness, to bring joy and happiness to them. And the issue of shalom, that if a person sees machloikis to the degree that it's possible, it says tarchinan. Sometimes it's tircha, sometimes it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. It doesn't always happen quickly. It's worth the investment of time and effort if a person can help bring about shalom. We know that on special days, throughout the month of Elul, Aseres Yemei Tshuva, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, on a fast day, we say the Shloish Esrei Midoi Shel Rachmim, the 13 attributes of kindness. And the Gemara says that Hashem taught Moshe Rabbeinu that whenever there'll be crisis, whenever there'll be real trouble, you will recite these 13 words before me, and this will be able to sweeten the judgment. This will be able to eliminate the judgment. The Mefarshim point out, these are called the 13 attributes of kindness. Shloish Esrei Midos Shel Rachamim, and another term for Rachamim is Chesed. It's brought in Sforim. The word Chesed is 72. Ches Samach Dalet is 72. 13 times Chesed is 936, which is the word Shalom. Shin is 300, Lamed is 30, Vav is 6, and Mem Sofit is 600. The Hebrew alphabet goes up to Tuf, from Aleph to Tuf. Tuf is 400, Aleph is 1, and Elef is 1,000. So where do you have the numbers 400, 500, 600, 7? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are the 5 end letters. Chaf Sofit is 500, Mem Sofit is 600, Nun Sofit is 700, and so on and so forth. So the word Shalom is 936, which is 13 times Chesed. One of the ways that a person can invoke these 13 attributes of kindness to bring that into our lives is Shalom. When there's Shalom Bayis, and when there's shalom among family members and among neighbors and in Klal Yisrael, every type of shalom. We know that the Torah begins, the first letter in the Torah is a capital B, a Beis Rabossi it's called, the big Beis, which tells us again that what the beginning of Yiddishkeit, the Haskalah, the first message that a person has to know to be Jewish is that Hashem Echad. In the Aseret Adibros, it begins with an Aleph, Hashem Echad. We are not Hashem. We are two. Our whole existence is dependent on two. The first mitzvah in the Torah, Pru Revu, requires two. You could be Moshe Rabbeinu, you could be David. No one is able to bring a child into the world to produce Shefa without two. When it comes to Limud HaTorah, the Gemara goes to such an extreme to say that a person who learns Torah by themselves is Chayev Misa. A person who has the opportunity to learn with a chavrusa, to learn with a friend, or a father with a son with a father, or a husband to teach a wife, and they don't do it, I don't need anybody else, I can learn by myself. A person who does that, the Gemara says, Cherev al habadim, there's a sword that hangs over the head of loners, a person who is alone. V'noyalu, the Gemara says v'noyalu has two meanings. One meaning is he's a sinner, asher noyalnu v'asher chotonu, and the other meaning is foolish, that the person will not get a clear, proper understanding of Torah by themselves. It's like steel. You want to sharpen steel, you rub it against another. Cherev, it's compared to a cherev. You sharpen it by rubbing it against another piece of steel. We find that the most mechubadik person in Klal Yisrael, there are different levels of kavod in Klal Yisrael. There are different levels of kavod in Klal Yisrael. There's parents kibud avoim. There's kvod rabbi, respect for a rabbi. The Gemara says, Av shemochel al kvoidoi kvoidoi mochel. A parent can forego their kavod. A rabbi can forego his kavod. A king, melech shemochel al kvoidoi ein kvoidoi mochel. A king cannot forego his kavod. He is the most mechubadik person in Klal Yisrael. David HaMelech, whose kingdom is compared to the kingdom of Hashem. That when we say Bayoim Hahu Yihye Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad, there'll come a time when Hashem's oneness will be recognized through the whole world. The words Echad U'Shemo Echad, the last letter spell David, that the kingdom of Hashem and the kingdom of David HaMelech go together. David HaMelech says, I know what the Gemara says, Cherev al habadim v'noyalu. I say the opposite. I say chover ani l'chol asher yireyucha. I am a friend. I attach myself, chibur. Wherever I see Yirei Hashem, I want to be part of it. I want to be a member. I want to join that group, that chevra. And the Gemara goes so far as to say, the Gemara mentions a pasuk me'uvas lo yuchoy liskon, that there's a certain type of crime, a certain type of sin that's irreparable damage. Irreparable damage. What's an example of irreparable damage? That if a group of Jews want to get together to do a mitzvah, they want to start a kollel, or they want to start a chevra, a minyan, or they want to join together in any kind of mitzvah, and a person says, no thanks, that's called me'uvos lo yuchel, irreparable damage to the person, chas v'sholom. So there's such incredible stress in the Torah of this unity, this two, this yichud. The Gemara makes it perfectly clear. The Gemara says that in a home, when there's shalom, the Shekhinah, the divine presence, is there. If there's no shalom, the Gemara says, Eish oichlasan, a spiritual fire destroys them. The Gemara says the word ish has the letters Eish and a Yud. The word Isha has the letters Eish and a Hey. When they're united, the Yud and Hey unite, and Yud and Hey is the complete name of Hashem. Again, when we write Yud, the way we pronounce it, Yud Vav Dalet, and when we write the letter Hey, the way we pronounce it, Hey Aleph, it's 26. Yud Vav Dalet is 20, Hey Aleph is 6. You have the complete presence of Hashem. When there's unity between them, chas v'sholom, when there's machlokes, when there's a lack of unity, there's a lack of ahava, the Gemara says, chas v'sholom, the eish oichlasan. How do we get to the shalom? The Gemara showed us that these two went together. It was the same two people that focused on Simcha and on Shalom. And we mentioned the pasuk ki besimcha seitzeiun uveshalom tuvolum. The Gemara says that a man has an obligation to be misameach his wife. That's the wording in the Gemara. That this issue of simcha is one of the most basic ingredients. It's a foundation in a Jewish home. Where does one get the simcha from? The answer is we have two major items in Judaism. We have Torah, which when a person studies the Torah properly, the pasuk says, Pikudei Hashem Yeshorim Mesamchei Leiv, that the commandments, the mitzvahs of the Torah bring joy to a person's heart. What if I'm learning and I don't feel joy, I don't feel simcha? Then you're not learning. You're not doing real, authentic learning. You better go find a rabbi or find the Sforim who will teach you how to learn Torah properly. Because when the Torah is being studied properly, it's wall-to-wall simcha. It's the divine spirit of Hashem, and Hashem is simcha. Hashem is simcha. The Beis Hamikdash was a center of simcha. U'semachtem b'chol mishlach yedchem. In the Beis Hamikdash, they sang and played music 7 days a week. There was the Negina, the Leviim sang and played musical instruments. Any item of Kedusha where we're talking about the divine presence of Hashem, the Nevi'im, a prophet, before he was able to receive prophecy, he would invite a musician. He would say, K'chuli menagen, v'hoyo kemenagen hamenagen. And when the musician played their music, Vatehi olav ruach Hashem, the divine spirit of Hashem was upon the person. So the Torah is teaching us, you want that divine spirit in your home, you need this simcha. There's a pasuk that all of us say, Oyer zorua latzadik, Uleyishrei leiv simcha, that those who have a smooth heart, a pure heart, it's simcha, it's happiness. David HaMelech says, Nosato simcha belibi, that simcha is something that there are people who are smiling, there are people who put on a smile on the exterior, but inside they're very depressed, unfortunately, Rahman al-Islam. David HaMelech says, Nosato simcha belibi, that true simcha has to be something that starts in the heart, it begins in the heart, and it expands to all parts of the body, from head to toe. Dancing, clapping hands, all of these things are an expression of joy and happiness. The Arizal says that the words leiv, simcha, are bigimatria shechina, the divine spirit of Hashem. Where is divine spirit of Hashem? In a heart that's full of joy. And therefore, especially, this is 365 days a year, including Tisha B'Av. A Jew is required to be besimcha, because if I'm not besimcha, I'm disconnecting, I'm disassociating myself from the Shekhinah. It's just that on Tisha B'Av we show it differently. Sometimes we express it differently. Sometimes we're more expressive, sometimes less expressive. Now let's talk about the most serious time of the year. The final month of the year, the month of Elul. The Bnei Yisachar writes, Noisnen lebesula shleim osar chodesh. Each month has a certain symbol of the zodiac that's associated with that month. We know the month of Tishrei is scales, moznayim. The month of Nisan is tleh, a sheep. Each one of the months has a different symbol. The sign of the zodiac for the month of Elul is Besula, a maiden. So the Mishnah says, Noislan lebesula shleim asar chodesh. We give the month of Elul the power of 12 months. That if a Jew wakes up at the end of the year, 11 months went by and I realized I haven't really been doing what I could, both in my relationship with Hashem, in my relationship with my wife, with my husband, with my friends, and a person says, but the year is over, it's just about over. The Gemara tells a person, the Gemara promises us that Hashem gives this month of Elul the power of 12 months, that if you'll do what you're supposed to do during this month, Hashem will credit it. I'll give you credit. It'll be a tikkun, a repair for the entire year. The Sfardim, the Sephardic Jews, start slichas from Elul, Rosh Chodesh Elul. Every day they're getting up early, 1 month a year, They're getting out of bed an hour earlier. Their slichas are pretty serious. And singing and everything throughout the month of Elul. The Ashkenazim, we blow shofar every single day. What is the shofar? Wake up. Uru yeshenim ishnaschem. Wake up. Wake up. The year is almost over. It's now or never. Either you repair now or chas v'shalom, the whole year will close as a defeat. So we have the month of Elul, which is a time of tshuva, a time of tefillah, a time of slichos, and then we go into Rosh Hashanah, Aseres Yemei Tshuva, Yom Kippur, much more serious. We're blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and the 10 days of tshuva, all kinds of additional levels of strictness, and then we go to Yom Kippur, where we're angels, we're malachim, no eating, no drinking, no association with women. Getting to a crescendo on the day of Yom Kippur, the one day a year that the Kohen Gadol would enter into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies. And then what? And then what? Can you top this? Is there something bigger than Elul and Rosh Hashanah and Aseres Yemei Tshuva and Yom Kippur? The answer is yes. What is it? Simcha. Sukkos. What is Sukkos? Zman Simcha Seinu. There are people that think that's a downer. You know, we were so high up there. We were Malachim, we were Yom Kippur. That's not a downer. That's the peak. That's the keser. That's the crown of Kedusha. There's a pasuk, V'simchas oilam al roisham. The eternal joy, not in their hearts or in their heads, al roisham, upon their heads. What's on the head? A crown. Simcha is referred to as the keser of Kedusha, the highest level possible. The Arizal says that the word besimcha is the letters machshava, which means, again, thought, above action, the highest levels. What else is Sukkos? Sukkos is simcha, and Sukkos is shalom. Hapoires sukas shalom, Oleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Sukkot, this combination again, like we saw in the Gemara, that these two go together. And when we talk about Shalom Bayis, again, one of the underlying termites in a house is when there's a lack of simcha. People go through struggles, financial issues, health issues. There's a long list of challenges. If a person really believes in Hashem, and we believe there's an expression people use nowadays, it's crazy. Did you hear what happened? It's crazy. Who's crazy? You're crazy? Is it you're crazy? Or is it Hashem? Are you saying Hashem's crazy? That something like this happened? No, I never said that. I would never say such a thing. You are saying such a thing. If a person says it's crazy, nothing's crazy. Everything that's going on is under the direct supervision of Hashem. Hashem is hands-on. He knows everything that's going on. He's controlling everything, and everything fits perfectly. We don't understand it right now. We don't say there'll come a time when it will be perfectly clear. The Torah makes it clear. Ki mola ha'oretz deo es Hashem. That now the world is not filled with Deus Hashem. We don't understand Hashem. But there's going to come a time when we will understand. So now when we don't understand, what's the test? The test is to act as if I did understand. There's a story Rabbi Nachman told, an incredible story, a parable about a person who was very poor, struggled throughout his whole life, and he supported himself by digging clay, digging earth, and selling it for pottery things, very, very cheap, very poor. And one day he comes across a diamond, an incredible diamond. He finds a diamond. So he goes to the local jeweler and shows it to him, and he says, this is way out of my league. I can't even appraise this. You've got to go to one of the big cities, London, Paris. Over there you'll find jewelers that can appraise this, and you have it made. He says, go to London. I can't afford a wagon to go to the next town. He says, do whatever you have to do. Get yourself there. So the person sells the whatever, nothing he has, and gets to the port where there's a boat there, and surely doesn't have money for to pay for a boat ride across the ocean. But he shows the captain of the ship this diamond. The captain says, follow me. And he gives him a first-class cabin and he takes a liking to him immediately, and he says, you'll be able to pay for, I'm not worried about you paying. And the trip takes a week or two, whatever it is that they're traveling, and this person would keep this diamond on the table in front of him during eating, to help his digestion. Everybody knows in the medical profession that when you're eating, when a person is angry or has the wrong kind of emotions and they eat, it's very unhealthy. So he would keep this diamond on the table when he was eating to keep himself high, to keep himself very happy. But one day, as is known, after the cholent or after certain things, unfortunately, or after the second course on Friday night, you see many men falling apart, the head is in the soup, and so he fell asleep at the table, and the bellboy comes in. He doesn't know from anything. He sees a tablecloth, some things on it. He grabs it, he opens the window, and tosses it out the window so that there's a clear table. This person wakes up, and he sees what happened, and he's horrified, because the minute the captain finds out he doesn't have that diamond, he's going out the same window. And he's wondering, what do I do? And he's thinking, and he comes up, the only solution is poker. He's got to be able to put on a poker face. He can't let on that anything changed, because the second if the captain realizes that he doesn't have it, it's all over. So the captain would come in to schmooze with him every day. So he's schmoozing and laughing and joking, and he's laughing along and joking, and inside he's bleeding, he's crying, he doesn't know what to do with himself. And this goes on for 1 day and 2 days, and he's fighting so hard to put up that front, to put up a happy face. And then one day the captain comes in looking very serious. He says, I need an incredible favor from you. I know that I couldn't ask this to most people, but you and I have become buddies and everything. I really need your help. He said, there's a deal, a wheat deal that I've been waiting for years to be able to do this. And I have the opportunity now. They're asking for a co-signer, somebody to co-sign on this deal, that I'm going to make the full payment for it and everything. Could you help me out? And he says, of course, we're buddies, gladly. You'll let me know. He says, okay, so we're going to get to the port in another day or two. You'll come with me. I know you have your business, but first come with me to sign the papers on the deal. He goes with him, and Rabbi Nachman says, and right afterwards, the captain has a heart attack. He dies. He drops dead. And Rabbi Nachman concludes the story that the wheat deal, this whole wheat went over to this person, to the person who had the diamond. And it was much greater value than even the diamond. And he says the diamond was not his. It wasn't meant to be his. Proof is that he lost it. The wheat was destined to be his. And the only way he got to it was by the fact that he was able to keep up that face, keep up a happy face when the chips were down. Before he had the million. It's no trick for a person to be happy when everything is going their way. They perceive that everything is going their way. It's when we perceive that things aren't going our way, that's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to show Hashem that I really believe in Him, that I know that this is good, and I know that if I accept this the right way, it's very possible that this will be a springboard for something much better. We know when Hashem created the world, the order of creation, Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Voiker, Yom Echad. First there's darkness, then there's light. That's a complete cycle. When Hashem first created the world, it says Hashem is wall-to-wall light. Hashem is oyer. In order to create the world, there had to be a tzimtzum. Hashem had to constrict the light, limit the light, in order to make room for creation. Whenever there's a creation, whenever there's new shefa that needs to be generated, there's a tzimtzum that has to come first. There's a night, a darkness before the light. There's a yerida before the aliyah. In terms of how significant this shalom is, we know the Shmon Esrei, we know there's a rule, Malin Bakodesh, that when it comes to holiness, we start from a certain place, and we're always trying to go higher and higher. The grand finale, Shmon Esrei, is the most important tefillah that we have. and it's all encompassing. The final blessing in the Shmoneh Esrei, Sim Shalom Toiva Uvracha Chaim Chen V'Chesed. We ask Hashem for Shalom and Bracha. What is Bracha? What is Bracha? The word Bracha, the Vilna Gaon says, the word Bracha, the Beis is 2, Reish is 2, Chaf is 2. That's Bracha, that brings blessing. When there's 2, when there's a husband and wife, when there's a father and son, when there's a mother and daughter, when there are 2 neighbors, and they're one, and they're united, that's Bracha. That brings Bracha into the home. One of the factors that the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, uses to destroy Shalom, to destroy Shalom Bayis, and to destroy Shalom between people is emes, truth. We know the Torah tells us that emes is very important, that when Hashem created the world, He started the world with emes, and He completed the creation with emes. The first 3 words in the Torah, Bereshis bara Elokim, the last letters make up the word emes. The last 3 words of creation, Asher bara Elokim la'asois, also the word emes. These are the 2 pillars of creation. And we're told that Hashem is emes, the Torah is emes, the tzaddik, the term tzaddik, emes, and the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, uses this emes, a person's perception that I'm right, I am right, my way is the true way, to bring about machlokes, to bring about diversity, chas v'shalom, and divisiveness in Klal Yisrael, between husband and wife, and all kinds of examples of this. The Gemara makes it perfectly clear that emes is very important and very special, but it's second to Shalom. It's second to Shalom. The Gemara says there are 2 opinions. One rabbi says that a person is allowed to lie for the sake of Shalom, and the other rabbi says it's a mitzvah to lie for the sake of Shalom. Now, we're not opening the door for people to live lies. This doesn't mean for a person to use this on a regular basis, but there are times when it's extremely important to bend the truth in order to maintain Shalom, in order to keep Shalom. The Gemara gives an incredible example. We know that if a person desecrates the name of Hashem, that's one of the worst sins conceivable. And the Gemara says that when there's doubt between husband and wife, when a husband suspects their wife of improper behavior, Hashem says, I want you to write my name multiple times. I want you to write out the whole parsha of Soita, and I want you to erase it. Erase the letters, erase my name. Erase my name in order to help bring about Shalom between husband and wife. We see that there's something called emes, which is very sacred and holy and important. And unfortunately, this is what the Yetzer Hara uses in a home with husband and wife, and this is what he's using in Klal Yisrael today. The Gemara says that one of the main problems that we're going to have before the coming of Moshiach is that the emes is going to be ne'ederes. There are going to be different groups in Klal Yisrael, and each group is going to claim that they are the emes. And if I am emes, then if you're like me, you're emes. If you're not like me, you must be sheker. That's the assumption. When it's not the assumption, the Klal Yisrael is not cookie cutter. We say in Eicha, the beginning of Eicha, where it speaks about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, it begins with the words Eicha Yoshva Vadod Ho'ir Rabosiyom Hoiso Ka'almona. The Zohar HaKadosh says, follow me, the first letters, Eicha, Yoshva, Vadod, Ha'ir, makes up the word Eva, Aleph Yud Beis Hey, which means sinner, hate. Rabosi, Hoisa, Ra'ah, Reish Ayin Hey, Eva, Ra, evil hate, is what brought about the Eicha, what brought about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. What causes this evil hate? It says Ho'ir Rabosi a large nation, a diverse nation. The Medrash says Rabosi Badeos. The Jews do not all think alike. We don't think alike. And Hashem didn't intend for us to think alike. We're allowed to think. We have our Torah. Our Torah is based that the Torah Shebal Peh, kosher, posel, tomei, toher, osur, muter. There are differences of opinions, and the Gemara says, Elu vo'elu divrei Elokim chayim. These two conflicting opinions, these two that appear to be opposites, divrei Elokim chayim. The first letters of divrei Elokim chayim spell the word echod. It looks to you like they're opposites. It looks to you like it's a contradiction. It's not. It's really one. It's just each one is coming from their place. Each one is coming from a different place. Sometimes, for one person to give tzedakah is a mitzvah. For another person to give tzedakah is an aveira. The same. For this person it's a mitzvah. For this person it's a sin. A person who cannot afford it at a certain point, a person who has debts, things like that, are required to take care of their debts first. So two people, both of them, one person is giving, the other person is not giving, they're both 100% correct. Each one is doing the right thing. One person is speaking, another person is not speaking. Each one, this diversity, and especially when we talk about husband and wife, male and female, who are coming from opposite positions, the fact that they don't see things exactly alike is perfectly normal. The chiddush is the ability to be able to find hatzad hashava shebohem, to find the things that we agree on, that we can unite on, that we can work together on and build. And for each one to be able to respect the differences. The Gemara says about a woman, should a husband expect his wife to be going to shiurim all day? The Gemara says, Dayois lanu shemegatlo says bonenu. Their most important responsibility is they're raising the children, to make sure that the children have clean clothing to wear, that they have healthy food to eat, that they get up when they're supposed to. That's her mission. That's her main mission. His main mission is what he's required to do. The learning of Torah, the bringing of Parnasa, each one of the responsibilities. There are times that there are role reversals. There are times that one person has to step in and help the other one. The expression charity begins at home is a Jewish expression. There are people sometimes who are looking for opportunities to do chesed. The first place to start the chesed is your own family. To be looking for an opportunity, what can I do to make my wife's life easier, to make her, to bring simcha to her, to compliment, to point out the good things, to inject a feeling of optimism, of hope, of tikva, or all of these things. I believe we covered most of the things that I wanted to mention. We spoke about Shalom, we spoke about Simcha, we spoke about Shovavim, that Shovavim is a time for tshuva, these weeks, and it's brought that the Shovavim is the makes up the first letters of the parshas Shmois, Vo'era, Boi, Beshalach, Yisroi, Mishpotim, these weeks. This week we're going to be reading Parshas Yisroi, and this is a period of time which the Sifrei Kabbalah explain that one of the main reasons why the Jewish people had to go down to Egypt and spend a lot of time there and then come out of there was to atone for the Pegam of Adam Arishain. And the Pegam of Adam Arishain had three facets to it. It was a combination of idol worship, adultery, and murder. Avodah Zorah, Gilui Arayis, and Shvichas Damim. Avodah Zorah, where's the idol worship? The pasuk we say it in Kriya Shema, V'sartem v'avadatem acherim, that a person who turns away from Hashem, the Baal Shem Tov says, any turn away from Hashem is a turn towards the opposite, is turning towards the opposite, which is Avodah Zorah, Elokim Acherim. So Adam Arishain disobeying Hashem, the act of disobeying of Hashem, is an example of idol worship. The pasuk says, Kol mitzvosecha emuna. All of the mitzvahs are a display of faith in Hashem. Going against a mitzvah is a display of lack of faith, chas v'shalom, avodah zarah. Shvichas damim, this is what brought death to the world. Hashem's intention originally was that man could live forever, but Hashem said, Ki beyoim acholcha mimenu mois tomus, that this brought death to the world. And Gilui Arayis, the Sforim explain that Adam and Chava were created on Friday. Had Adam Arishan waited till Friday night for the union between him and Chava, all of this wouldn't have happened. That act of not waiting was considered, in a sense, a lack of purity. The purity in the relationship between Adam and Chava would have been a different league completely if they would have waited till Shabbos. So the Jews going down to Mitzrayim, which is called Ervas Ha'oretz, it was a place of Shtufei Zima, tremendous lack of purity and lack of holiness between men and women. These weeks are appointed as a time for purification, a time for us trying to improve in this area and in all areas, and thereby be zeichet to a geula. We mentioned before the term, the pasuk besimcha seitzeyon, and we said that simcha is a crown on the head, v'simchas oilam al rosham. The Arizal says that the word go'al, the root of the word geula, gimel aleph lamed, we know that one of the codes that's used in the Gemara is atbash, where we switch the first letter of the aleph base with the last letter, the second one from the beginning, second one of the end. The gimel becomes a reish, the aleph becomes a tuf, and the lamed becomes a chaf, so that the word go'al is the letters keser in code. That what could bring about the geula is if we tap into the keser. We have to tap in when a person's, the lower a person is, the higher a level of light they need to be able to get them out of that. The more ill a person is, the greater a level of a doctor they need to heal them. Rabbi Nachman says a person has an ordinary illness, they can go to a GP. Person is very sick, they need a specialist. Where we are now in Hastora Shabbatoi Hastora, when super darkness, we need the highest light for Gula. That light is Keser, that light is Simcha. We should be Zeicha, each and every one of us, to open our hearts, to open our eyes, to be able to, again, to look in the Sforim, to look in our Torah, and especially the Sforim of Rabbi Nachman, which educate a person in all aspects of Yiddishkeit, but especially in Simcha, how to be happy at all times, and how to exude Simcha, how to be able to transmit this to our wives and children and people around us and our shul everywhere. And in that schus we should be zeichet to the Shalom, to the Geula Shlema b'mher of Yameinu. Amen. Sure. Any questions?
Could the Rav say again the pasuk that a man is responsible for the simcha in the house? What was?
It's a Gemara where the Gemara says that a person chayev adam l'sameach es ishtoi. A responsibility, Shana Rishina for the first year, but not just the first year. It's the obligation, the duty of the husband to be b'sameach, to pick up the wife.
Two questions. One, you said the Keser, the higher the level to the Gula, is Purim connected to that as well?
Definitely. Purim, we mentioned Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is referred to as the Keser, the crown. We say on Yom Kippur, Ki vayom hazeh yechaper Hashem aleichem letaher eschem mikol chatoseichem, that this day is a day of such an incredible high level of purity. Lifnei Hashem titoru, before Hashem you will be purified. Rosh Hashanah is Malchus, Hamelech HaMelech, Hamelech HaMelech. The 10 days of tshuva, we're climbing from Malchus to the Keser. It's brought that the word titaru is Bigimatria Keser, exactly. That's Yom Kippur. The Tikkunei Zohar says, can you top this? Is there something higher than Yom Kippur? The answer is yes. It's Purim. Because Yom Kippur is called Yom Kippurim. It's a day that's like Purim. It's not as big, it comes close. Yom Kippur comes close. Purim is high because Purim is this Simcha. Purim is the peak. And on Purim, we're going against our worst adversary. There are 70 nations that are all in opposition to Klal Yisrael. We're compared to a sheep surrounded by 70 wolves. The worst one is Amalek. There's a pasuk that says, Reishis Goyim Amalek. Amalek is king, the top of all nations. There's a pasuk in Bereshis where it says, Rak Ra Kol Hayoim. Only evil all day. The last letters of Rak Ra Kol Hayoim spell the word Amalek. Amalek is the ultimate in evil. On Purim, we're going up against Amalek, against Haman. How do we defeat Haman? Merely the Simcha of Purim. You may mishte v'simcha or mishloach monasish fun, and the fun. Rabbi Nachman made a statement 200 years ago that he said nowadays it is impossible for a Jew to be able to be besimcha without mili deshtusa. A person needs fun, and Purim is the one day a year when we see that. We see all the observant Jews get it. They know there's an element of mili deshtusa. You give me cake and I give you, giving presents back and forth, dressing up in costumes. All of this, person would say, what does this have to do with Yiddishkeit? The answer is, this is the ultimate. This is how we're going to defeat the worst adversary of all, Amalek, through Simcha Dikdusha, this holy Simcha.
How about Tu B'Shvat was coming up?
Every day is a Tu B'Shvat is a Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, the prophet said to the Jews in the Navi Nehemiah, it says, "Ichlu mashmanim u'shesumam takim." Eat delicious foods, drink sweet drinks. Al teotzevu. Don't be sad. Don't be depressed. Ki chedvas Hashem hi mo'uzchem. Because joy with Hashem, that's your strength. The Gemara says, "Lo nitna Torah lebnei Yisrael elo mipnei she'azenheim." That Hashem gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael because we have azus, we have brazenness, we have chutzpah. Rabbi Nachman writes, how do you get azus? How do you get azus? Through simcha. The pasuk says, "Ki chedvas Hashem hi mo'uzchem." The joy with Hashem, when a person's genuinely happy, that gives the person the strength that they need to fight the Yetzer Hara, to do what they need to do. It's brought, I'm thinking of Tu B'Av. There is a connection between the two. There's two opinions in the Gemara as to when the world was created. One opinion is that it was created in Aleph Tishrei, that man was created. Adam Rishon was created in Aleph. The word Bereshis is the letters B'Aleph Tishrei. B'Aleph Tishrei, Bora Elokim es Hashmayim V'Aretz. Hashem created man, who is a connection between heaven and earth, a neshama and a guf. There's another opinion that says it was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Aleph Nisan. So it's brought that 40. If man was created on Aleph Tishrei, he was created on Friday. The world was created 6 days before that, which means on the 25th of Elul. One opinion says that the world was created on the 25th of Elul. The other opinion says that it was created on the 25th day of Adar. 40 days before creation, there's an announcement, the Gemara says, it goes out in heaven that announces everything about the future of that child, etc. So 40 days before the creation of the world was Tu B'Shvat, according to one opinion, or Tu B'Av, according to the other opinion. Tu B'Av, the Gemara says that there were no happy days in Klal Yisrael like Yom Kippur and Tu B'Av. It was a day of tremendous joy and simcha. So one of the rabbis, the Bnei Yisachar, writes that Av is Aleph Beis. Av is Aleph Beis. Tu B'Av, Tet Vav is 15. The 15th letter in the Aleph Beis is a Samach. What is a Samach? A Samach is Simcha. It says that in the future Hashem is going to make a mochel. Hashem is going to make a circle. All the Jews are going to dance together, and they're going to point and say, Zeh Hashem kivinu loi nagila v'nismecha b'shuasai. That's Hashem. Let's rejoice with His salvation.
So that's the beginning of that
40-day period, exactly.
It's hard to see here you again. One last question. Talk about Simcha, so then you have to tie in Lag BaOmer as well.
Of course. Lag BaOmer, those people, I'm privileged to be living in Eretz Yisrael over 30 years, and Lag BaOmer is the largest gathering in the world. We had the Siyam Hashas recently, which was fantastic. You had MetLife Stadium, close to 100,000 people. Barclay, Lag BaOmer, you have a little village. It's not a city. It's a Kfar Miron. And you have over 500,000 Jews gathering together during a 48-hour period. And they say that it's a combination of Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah. There are people that come to Miron Lag BaOmer and are crying for the different Yeshuas that they need. People begging Hashem for children, for health, for parnasa. And the dancing, the celebration there is something spectacular. There are tzaddikim, there are great tzaddikim that were disturbed, that felt that sometimes it's a little too frivolous over there, this, that. And there were tzaddikim that wanted to issue a decree that to stop it, to stop the celebration. And they were hit very strongly, either with illnesses or other things, and they got a message that Rabbi Shimon is in charge, no one else. Rabbi Shimon's giving out the invitations, no one else. And if Rabbi Shimon is allowing this, if he's, don't get in the way. Of course, we spoke about Shavovim. It's extremely important. A holy celebration is where the men and women, each one knows their place. There's purity, etc. But the Simcha is something that the Torah encourages.